Hello. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Forest Garden. These are the Forest Garden live sessions. My name is Hannah with Inspire Breathwork, and I use she, her pronouns. And we're here today with the seedlings of those of us in the Forest Garden. So the Forest Garden is a group of soulful entrepreneurs cultivating a counterculture in the ways in which we navigate business, we navigate work, and the ways in which our white dominant culture asks us to be. We are collectively coming together to create networks within each other that bring these aspects of light, of abundance, of gentleness, of openness, in order for us to be vital parts in shifting the relationship to business, money, and productivity. This session today, this conversation, is an invitation for us to discuss urgency, what it means, how it shows up in our body, and how we can actively resist it in order for us to create collective abundance. And so supporting, nurturing, parenting, eldering in mutuality and reciprocity. We are all learning. We are all in this process, navigating this. And so the Forest Garden is an incubator for soulful entrepreneurs in the way that we can model and support each other as we navigate what it means to be successful in this modern world. I would like to thank first and foremost these wonderful folks in the room, and a special thank you to Nan, who will introduce themselves, for producing this. So this is also produced by Timble Tech, and we are so grateful that that you are here. So thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. And I would like to introduce myself to the audience. Nan, Timble Tech, so nice they, pronouns. And I'd like to invite you today to drop a comment in the chat, drop a question while we talk about various topics and the ideas that are here. And we hope that this is a good opportunity for you to engage with us. And I think I'll go ahead and I'll let her just sit in now.
So let's begin. My name is Pearl, and I use she, her pronouns. I'm from Affinity Hypnosis. And what we'd like to do together before we dive into unpacking this topic of urgency is just to center and ground ourselves as a group, to connect together. And so if you're watching this now or you're watching this later, then join in with this practice. This will really help you connect to the energy of the room, and is also really a helpful practice if you ever want to ground and center yourself in any situation. So it's going to be a short one for us all. And I invite you, if you are sitting on a chair, doesn't matter if you're sitting on the floor, but if you are sitting on a chair, just to edge up on the edge of your chair, and just the last kind of third of your buttocks at the edge of your chair, and have your knees at a right angle over the top of your ankles. And just notice how when you have your knees like this, if you are sitting down, just paying attention to your connection to the earth from your sacrum. And wherever your body meets the ground, whether that be your feet or your buttocks, bringing your full attention to these parts. Noticing any sensations as you ground your focus to those points closest to the earth. Moving up your body, tucking your tailbone in so that you have the length in your lower back. Working your way up your spine now and allowing your chin just to drop a fraction. Feeling as though your head is connected with a gold cord that goes all the way up to the universe. Feel the weight of your head being lifted from your shoulders. As you allow your breath to drop into your body. Using this centered, grounded space to scan your body from head to toe. With loving awareness. Breathing into any spaces that hold more tension. With every exhale, sending that tension down into the earth, through the soles of your feet, down into the connection to earth. Breathing in together as a collective. Sending our breath to every cell in our body. Breathing in as a collective. Sending breath to each other. Breathing in as a collective. Sending breath to all those who witness this video. Welcoming you all. Welcoming each and every one of us and all our parts that are present today. With gratitude, with love, with acceptance. Slowly start to take sips of light in through your eyes. Remaining aware inside as you begin to absorb the outside world.
Thank you, Pearl. And so stepping into this space and the intention that we have for opening this space, we're here to discuss how we can serve ourselves and each other in the business world as business founders, as solo, soulful entrepreneurs. What I have noticed in doing this work of cultivating my own business and the structures and the systems around that, there are so many ways in which the dominant culture invites us to work, and maybe invite is even a soft word. It may be even coercing or seducing us or inducing us or reducing us to work. And so this week we are discussing the ways in which urgency shows up as one of those cultural characteristics, the ways we think about it, the ways that we feel it, the ways that we notice it, and the ways in which we resist it. And so what does urgency really mean? And where does that feeling come from? How does it manifest in your life? And in what ways do you personally resist it? And so we're going to have a 20-minute open conversation. And I just want to open the floor to maybe noticing, what does urgency feel like and how does it show up?
I know for me that when I'm feeling urgent, it shows up in my heart and in my chest as a tightness, and I will forget to breathe.
That's exactly the same as me, Nan. I feel it as a resistance between my head and my heart being completely out of balance, and like you said, like a tension in the heart and a disembodiment, because the breath no longer wants to come into my body. It feels like not a safe place. My attention is more external and hypervigilant than it is embodied, soft, gentle, open, receptive, which can cause dissonance because I'm not really there. So that's what happens.
I love the word hypervigilant, really encapsulated how I was feeling into that. And it's very much in my brain, actually, the sense of urgency, the narrative. I've definitely noticed that in the past, and now I understand more about what's going on. The cortisol running through my body, even though there might not be anything to be done, but my brain is still in that kind of pattern of we must do. And I know when I'm in urgency because my creativity ceases to exist. And so that is a tail factor as well for me.
I think for the ways in which urgency shows up in my body is I start moving really quickly. I try to think that I am multitasking when we know that multitasking is a lie, you know. So it's really like, okay, I have this happening, this happening, this happening. I cannot give my full attention to one thing. Even as I'm doing something, I'm thinking about the other things that need to happen. So I really resonate with that, Hannah, on that it's actually, it's a mental construct that then leads information into the body. One of the another thing that comes up for me is actually it ends up being, I get quite clumsy physically. Like if I'm trying to move quickly, like I'm not paying attention to my limbs or to what I'm carrying, and I might drop things. I might, things tend to break if I'm in that space, and so that's also a really big indication that I'm not paying attention.
Stepping out of our bodies and out of our minds, or really maybe being in our bodies and breathing is the harness that our mind needs. And listening to you, Hannah, for me, it's making mistakes with, all of the elements that I work with on the tech side of my business. I can tell when I'm working out of order and mistakes happen. I'm not in my body, and my mind is not tame.
Where do you think this urgency comes from? Like where is that feeling coming from for you in your work?
I feel, well, the primary place would be customers, but really they're feeling under pressure. So I feel like it really comes from the marketplace, the first to the market. There is this scarcity mindset around I have to be the first so that I can really take advantage of all of the new potential. And we see that with platforms, right? TikTok, there's a lot of pressure to be on TikTok right now because it's becoming very popular. Cryptocurrency is becoming more mainstream, so that's beginning to appear. And with these new things, it's natural, right? There's going to be somebody who wants to sell you cryptocurrency. So one of the hooks in their marketing is going to be the first, be a part of the first. Get on TikTok before it becomes overcrowded. That's a marketing ploy.
Mm-hmm.
Those are my initial thoughts.
A question that came to me then was like was what I definitely learned that I had to do, because my jobs in advertising was urgency led to the point of eczema and psoriasis. And, I mean, my body couldn't have been screaming more to just, stop. And then the well-being industry, I have to say, the sense of urgency for what my part in it initially was still there, very much so. And it wasn't really until COVID happened where I allowed myself a moment to not do anything. And I still recognized these thought patterns waking up and being like, I need to achieve this, something I need to do. And that's when I was really like, wow, this is a really conditioned narrative. And how do I create boundaries for other people's urgency that I have taken onto myself? So that sort of started a more deeper inquiry about this thing called urgency and what it means to succumb to it, or to be conscious of it, or to work with it.
For me, it's very similar in that I feel a sense of urgency comes from this perpetual longing and pursuit for something that is always in the future. Like it's like the donkey and the carrot, sort of just chasing an ideal version of you or your company, or strive for more, better. And I guess that comes from the narrative of being not good enough, as people, as individuals, in your business or whatever it is. It's that narrative that makes you think that you need the next best thing, or you need to get somewhere faster. And that plays into comparison, and that sense of I need to have a goal, I need to be striving towards something. And the mind is constantly then stimulated by that need for progression, productivity, and growth, but not in a way that feels natural to our own evolution, but more kind of fixated on outcome. And well, when I get that, then I'll feel this way. And so there's that sense of urgency I feel within that weaves into our business systems when we first enter it, when we first enter this online marketing world, and we're first launching our businesses, that can start to influence us pretty quickly.
I think you just hit a really valuable point here, Pearl, because oftentimes as business founders, we are in a kind of a reactionary mode of survival, right? We are creating sovereignty. And so there is a definite reality around an urgency, or the need for us to sustain ourselves, right? So that is something that is real. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes with that reality, so not only is there that reality, we are also living in urgent times, right? We have the climate crisis, we have social injustice, we have all of these discrimination, deforestation, war, right? And these things are happening. And so times are urgent. Mm-hmm. And bringing in that teaching from one of my teachers, Bayo Okomolafe, times are urgent, let us slow down. And one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about this first was oftentimes in the wellness industry, even in the business world of the wellness industry, these characteristics of culture are placed onto the individual to fix, or it's the individual's problem, right? It's my problem that I need to deal with. I have this narrative. It's from my family. It's from my upbringing. Oh, it's my relationship to money. It's my relationship to work. And I think one of the things that's really important for me when I do this body of work of embodied social justice, of decolonizing our practice, is to really understand the ways in which the systems are working. And one of the things for me, for bringing urgency into this conversation, is when we are constantly in this state of survival, in this state of urgency, there is very little time for us to do things with intention. Mm-hmm. There is very little time for us to do things inclusively or thoughtfully. We're often in crisis mode. And so, therefore, we are really okay with mediocrity. Right? We're really okay with this will do. And oftentimes, those who are not within, let's say, the dominant norm, are marginalized. Right? So often sacrificing those who are on the edges of society. And so bringing it as super personal, but also super social, because if it's present in the social body, it is present in our personal body. It's really, for me, the sense of urgency reinforces power structures, because we don't have time to think. We don't have time to critique or to think critically. And so therefore, we are giving away our power, right? We are giving away our power for decision making in the name of productivity, in the name of efficiency.
And when I listen to you, I think when we're in a rush, we don't challenge enough. We don't say, is that really the best step? And challenge. There's resistance in the group to challenges. It makes things harder. You have to think about things longer.
Well, it makes it even harder to kind of grasp the concept that we're working within a framework that was already there before we were born, and we're just it kind of, doesn't give us time to like have that outside perception of like, oh, we're actually just working in a system that someone created. I'm probably quite a highly strong extrovert, because I know some people that really love this energy of urgency and really thrive on it and work on it, and that's absolutely great. But I know that I'm not one of those people. So to have the choice to work in the ways that really suit us as individuals, I think is going to be more productive to ourselves, each other, the planet, than fitting into a cookie cutter system.
Yeah, there's something really interesting in this around what would be the opposite of urgency, right? Oftentimes, because we live in this society, we also often get into binary thinking that, okay, actually the opposite of urgency is just doing something really slowly. Right?
A sloth came to mind when you said that.
Yeah, right? Which is actually not the case, right? We can still move quickly, but without having that hyper charge of this scarcity mindset or this survival mindset, right? Like in the work that we do with the forest garden, we've been inviting different thoughts of phasal ecologies, right? Not necessarily working within our constructs of time, right? But actually working with the earth. And there are phases when this is more of a bamboo week, right? We just move swiftly and move quickly. This is more of a vine week. This is more of an oak week. And so oftentimes we place ourselves in, okay, if I'm not doing this quickly, then, or if I don't do it in an urgent way, then nothing gets done quickly, right? Which I kind of want to pull apart and tear apart here, because that's not what we're saying when we're saying resisting urgency, right? I think one of the things that I just wanted to bring in as well with the individualization of our world right now, our society right now, that sense of urgency also brings up other feelings, right? If we don't do something fast, or we don't do something in this fast manner, what kind of feelings come up for you that are related to not doing it in that way?
I know that this isn't. Oh, sorry. Go on, Nan. Go. No, please.
Well, I was going to say that when I resist urgency, my subconscious wants to throw up fear, because it's always in survival mode, and it's gotten me so far by surviving. And then I have to take a breath and remind myself that I'm doing more than surviving. I'm thriving in a healthy way that will last longer. And so it takes some training at the beginning for me to slow down and resist that urgency.
When you said, I was just taken to a moment of, if anyone would have told me that I sort of had more choices around the urgency that I felt in some work, I know that my response to that would have been, I can't afford not to have urgency until I have X, Y, or Z. And I think that's redefining until success, or redefining what success means to you. And so that also obviously branches out in a bigger conversation. But I get really excited when I resist urgency now, because I am so much more creative, and like a lot of my work depends on that creativity, especially creating content in order to promote breathwork, which is what I predominantly do. So for me to resist urgency allows me to open up and for much more to flow through me in order for me to share with the world.
There's a quote that comes to mind, Hannah, when you say that, and I can't remember who it's by, so if anyone knows, please let me know. But it's, if I had 5 hours to cut down a tree, which isn't very great because this is the forest garden, but this is the quote I remember. If I had 5 hours to cut down a tree, I would spend 4 hours sharpening my axe. And this goes, it's like, this is redefining success. It's like, well, in this world, it might seem better if you just started hacking and started going at it 100 miles per hour and hoping for the best and looking busy and putting all your effort in the wrong places, which is just exhausting. Or you have the wise person who's sharpening the axe and you're thinking, what are you doing? You're wasting time. Start hacking, and actually they're the ones that at the last minute will execute, but it's because it's coming from an aligned, embodied place of power. And I have this note here around resisting urgency, and the urgency it disempowers us because it disembodies us. So it's really about taking power back in the ways that we can. And we do that by taking our energy back, because where we are urgent, we leak energy. We sacrifice our energy and we give it to the wrong places, the wrong people, in fact, the wrong systems. And we're supporting that vibration in the earth, being like, yeah, I'm also an urgent being. I am part of this vibration, this pulse. And actually to take a step back. And a way that I do this is to lengthen the gap between the stimulus and the response. So I read this somewhere and they had a beautiful analogy of this, of if the telephone rings, you might immediately jump up and pick it up, right? That's like an immediate reaction, a sense of urgency of like, I need to respond immediately. And here's the challenge: let the phone ring. Let the phone ring, or let the phone ring and give it a minute before you answer it. Just do it on your term. Don't get up and pick up the telephone. Don't feel your feeling and distract yourself with your phone, or I don't know, another example of just going at something straight away because you feel the sense of urgency. Witness the urgency and then respond. But respond from a place of total embodiment when you're in your breath. And even if that takes 30 minutes, an hour, and you're thinking, but I've got to get this done in 2 hours, let it be. This is where you take your power back in that space. And the more people that create this space, the more we are fracturing this pulse that is telling us that we need to be beating at a certain rate. But actually, we slow down, we start vibrating differently, we start energetically aligning ourselves in a different way, and we start to communicate in different ways with each other. And that's how we break the system on a very vibratory level. I come from.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you. I am seeing in the chat that I am now taking us into a close. Is that right, everybody? Are we all complete? Okay, great. And I just wanted to say for anyone listening as well, when you see us do this or a hand gesture or something like that, it kind of means that it's kind of like a yes, you know, like we're resonating. So do it too. Yeah, thank you for joining us. And I didn't introduce myself at the beginning, so my name is Hannah, and I go by the pronouns of she, her, and I run a business, a co-run a business called Grounded Life with another Hannah called Hannah Nudas. And I'd love to do a little breath exercise to just allow us to close this session. Before I do that, I wanted to say, yeah, if you're interested in any of our individual work or want to follow us and go to our separate Instagram pages, because that's where we all reside. We don't have a collective one. This at the moment is our collective space. And we're going to meet next week at this exact time. And I think there's already been mentioned the word disembodiment a few times, and we're going to be discussing disembodiment and resisting disembodiment as entrepreneurs, as soul-centered entrepreneurs within the kind of more sacred systems that we are paying, well, I'm paying much more attention to. So yeah, okay. So luckily, the antidote to urgency is the breath. So I'm going to just invite you to gently close your eyes if you're in a place that's safe to do so. Or you can hold a soft gaze. And just simply noticing as we've had this conversation, what you're feeling in the body, and bring the breath to this feeling. But I invite you to take a slightly deeper breath, inviting it more deeply into the body. So let it be soft, but let it be full. Through the nose, feel the body move with your breath. And just notice where you're feeling. In the language of sensation. And notice if that's comfortable or uncomfortable or contracted or expansive. And then maybe go on to notice some more subtle feelings that perhaps reside somewhere else in the body. Sensations. And I'm going to invite you also to take your attention to somewhere in your body that feels more grounded than the rest, or feels kind of grounded in particular. Maybe somewhere comes straight away for you, and maybe you want to scan the body. Use the rhythm of the breath to allow your attention to wash in and out of the body, to wash over and in your internal environment. And when you found a place that feels a little bit more grounded and at home, then just breathe with this space. Knowing that all these things can exist in our body at the same time. And we can breathe with them all. How can we empower ourselves more to not be at the will of urgency? Perhaps allowing ourselves in this moment to just really be, as in let everything go. Let go of the fact that in a minute this meditation will end. Let go of the fact that you might want to write down some of this information or find one of us on Instagram. Let go of anything that was said in this conversation just for a moment, and just trust that it's actually all here. And it will all be waiting for you. So for the next 30 seconds, just breathing into this very moment. And closing in a way that feels good for you. So however you want to close this practice, a hand on the heart, hands in prayer, a squish of the legs, a blink of the eyes open, allowing yourself to finish this practice the way that you want to. Thank you.